It's become a joke through gritted teeth these days in EU circles that whenever leaders meet, as they did these last 2 days in Cyprus, expecting to discuss practicalities and such as the new EU budget, they get railroaded by yet another crisis. There is the ongoing energy crisis provoked by the US-Israel war on Iran, Russia's aggression in neighboring Ukraine, now in its 4th year. And this Friday morning, and souring relations between Europe and the United States, along with a potentially devastating defense impact, reared its Medusa-like head again. And the recent surge in fuel prices due to the war in Iran has spurred demand for electric vehicles around the world, and Chinese car makers are making the most of the opportunity. China is the world's top producer of EVs, and while its manufacturers remain largely shut out of the major car market of the United States, they are benefiting from an uptick in interest and orders via dealerships across Asia and elsewhere. And the National Database and Registration Authority, NADRA, has introduced an automated system aimed at improving public access to identity card services, allowing citizens to complete applications through self-service kiosks. The facility has been launched at the NADRA Mega Centre in Lahore, where 22 counters have been designated for the new system. And the Lahore Development Authority, LDA, has introduced a new policy aimed at providing relief to property owners in cases related to access area penalties. Under the revised policy, penalties will now be calculated based on the property rate at the time of plot allotment instead of the current district collector DC rates. And Punjab's provincial cabinet has approved a significant increase in the cost of obtaining a domicile certificate, raising the fee by 175% as part of a broader move toward a fully digital and paperless system. Under the revised structure, the total fee has increased from Rs 200 to 550, including 200 as the base fee, Rs 300 for the e-affidavit, and Rs 50 as a service charge. And Punjab's educational boards have increased the number of exam opportunities for students who fail, raising the limit from 4 to 6 attempts. Under the new policy, students will now be allowed to take exams up to 6 times within a 4-year period. This change will be implemented starting from the 2024 annual examinations. And authorities in Sindh have intensified enforcement against tenants and landlords who fail to complete mandatory registration, warning that non-compliance could result in arrest and imprisonment. Under the new measures, living in a rented property without proper registration may lead to serious legal consequences. Both tenants and property owners could face jail time if they do not comply with registration requirements. And the Overseas Pakistanis Commission, OPC, has announced a series of measures to address the problems faced by Pakistanis living abroad, including the establishment of special courts and facilitation desks at airports. Under the new plan, separate courts will be set up in every district to handle cases specifically related to overseas Pakistanis. And police in the Peruvian capital of Lima have raided a home belonging to the former head of its national election agency amid growing frustration in the aftermath of the country's presidential election. As of Friday, results still had not been finalized for the presidential race, which took place on April 12. And Silicon Valley tends to tolerate a certain amount of founder exaggeration when pitching investors, often dismissing it as part of selling a vision. But some choices cross the line and can lead to jail time for founders and scandal for their investors. A case in point is Joseph Sandberg, whose once high-flying fintech startup Aspiration Partners was backed by a roster of tech celebrities, including former Microsoft CEO and current Clippers owner Steve Ballmer. In August 2025, Sandberg pleaded guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud and defrauding multiple investors and lenders, the US Department of Justice said in a press release. Each count carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison.
The foreign ministers of Pakistan and 7 other Muslim-majority countries on Thursday issued a joint statement rejecting any attempts to alter the historic and legal status quo in Jerusalem and its Islamic and Christian holy sites. The ministers condemned what they described as repeated violations of the status quo at the city's holy sites by Israeli authorities. They specifically criticized continued incursions by Israeli settlers and extremist ministers into Al-Aqsa Mosque, Al-Haram al-Sharif, carried out under Israeli police protection, as well as the raising of the Israeli flag within its courtyards.
And a court in Kosovo has sentenced 2 Kosovo Serbs to life imprisonment and another to a 30-year jail term for taking part in what it described as a terrorist attack in September 2023. The men were found guilty of violating Kosovo's constitutional order and inciting terrorist activities. Prosecutors have charged 45 people in total, but they believe most of them are in Serbia and unlikely to be handed over. And Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, has formally apologized to the community of Tumbler Ridge, BC, after a mass shooting in February. And he admitted his company did not alert authorities to the shooter's disturbing online conversations with its AI chatbot, even after staff flagged the account internally. And I am deeply sorry that we did not alert law enforcement to the account that was banned in June. Altman wrote in a letter dated April 23 and addressed to the community of Tumbler Ridge. While I know words can never be enough, and I believe an apology is necessary to recognize the harm and irreversible loss your community has suffered. And former Barcelona defender Hector Bellerin snatched a late point for Real Betis in a 1-1 La Liga draw against Real Madrid to do his former side a favour in the Spanish title race. Alvaro Arbeloa's Madrid seemed set to chop down Barca's lead on Friday, but the Catalans sit provisionally 8 points ahead of Madrid after Bellerin cancelled out Vinicius Junior's opener.
Israeli forces have killed 12 Palestinians in attacks throughout Gaza. Medical sources in the enclave tell Al Jazeera, as Israel continues its daily violations of the ceasefire struck last year. An Israeli attack on a police vehicle on Friday killed at least 8 people, including 3 civilian bystanders in Khan Yunis. A separate attack in Gaza City also killed 2 police officers.
And Cohere, the Canada-based enterprise AI unicorn, announced Friday that it would merge with the Germany-based enterprise AI company Aleph Alpha. The deal, which has yet to close, will value the newly formed company at $20 billion, the FT reported. Schwartz Group, one of Aleph Alpha's top backers, will also invest $600 million in Cohere's Series E round, which is expected to close later this year, CNBC reported.
Palantir has helped the Internal Revenue Service's Criminal Investigations Office probe a variety of financial crimes in the US. For much of the last decade, The Intercept reported the IRS has paid the firm $130 million since 2018 to use its data analysis software to pore over financial records for investigative purposes, the outlet reported, citing public records detailing Palantir's IRS contract that were obtained by the non-profit watchdog group American Oversight.
And Oppo is reportedly preparing to enter the handheld smart imaging device market with a new gimbal camera product. According to a report from China's Blue Whale Media, the company has internally begun development of a dedicated device that could compete with compact cameras already offered in this category. And Colombian President Gustavo Petro has become the first foreign leader to visit Venezuela since the United States military abducted Nicolas Maduro on January 3. On Friday, Petro was greeted by Venezuela's interim president Delcy Rodriguez at the Miraflores presidential palace in Caracas. Their visit comes after a previously scheduled meeting in the Colombian border town of Cucuta was abruptly cancelled in March. And the administration of President Donald Trump plans to again end the temporary legal status of hundreds of thousands of people who applied for asylum in the United States via the CBP One app. The plan was detailed in a court filing in Boston, Massachusetts, and comes after a judge ruled that Trump's earlier effort to terminate the legal status of those individuals was unlawful.
that Israel has continued its attacks on southern Lebanon, hours after ceasefire between the two countries was extended for a further 3 weeks. The Israeli military on Friday said it had eliminated 6 Hezbollah fighters in an exchange of fire in the area of Bint Jbeil, southern Lebanon. The Lebanese Health Ministry also reported that 2 people were killed in an Israeli airstrike in the southern area of Tulin.
And reports of unauthorized access to one of the most powerful artificial intelligence models yet developed have emerged. Nothing malicious, say the owners, but it has intensified focus on such technology falling into the wrong hands.
That United States President Donald Trump is sending envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner to Pakistan as Iran's foreign minister arrived in the country. That raising hopes of new talks on ending the US-Israeli war on Iran amid a fragile ceasefire and growing tensions over control of the Hormuz Strait. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on Friday that US envoys would sit down with Abbas Araghchi, that expressing hope that parties would move the ball forward to a deal, but it remained unclear whether the Iranian delegation had agreed to hold talks.
And X-Energy's stock popped today in its debut on the Nasdaq, opening at 30.11 before closing at 29.20, up 27% over its initial public offering of $23 per share. Investors can't get enough nuclear power, apparently. Even the initial share price had been revised upward from the $16 to $19 target floated by the company during its investor roadshow. At close, the company was valued at $11.5 billion.
That Weiyao Wang spent 8 years at Meta, his first job out of college, helping build multimodal perception systems and contributing to open-world segmentation projects, including SAM3D. His final day at Meta was last week, and he has since joined Thinking Machines Lab. His move to Thinking Machines Lab, TML, comes as the AI startup expands on multiple fronts. TML just signed a multi-billion-dollar cloud deal with Google. That giving it access to NVIDIA's latest GB300 chips and making it one of the first startups to run on the hardware.
And Series, a social networking app, announced that it raised a $5.1 million pre-seed round with investors including Venmo co-founder Ikram Magdon Ismail, Pear VC, Reddit CEO Steve Huffman, and GPT-0 founder Edward Tian. And the company was founded early last year by Yale students Nathaniel Johnson and Sean Hargrove, both still seniors at the university. Series considers itself to be a next-generation social networking platform rather than an AI app, and hails itself as one of the first to work entirely through iMessage. Johnson, the CEO, told TechCrunch.
That in the largest and longest trial of its kind, 90% of patients receiving an experimental gene therapy for congenital deafness showed significant and lasting improvements in hearing. The study, conducted across 8 sites in China, that involved 42 participants, including 39 children and teenagers aged 9 months to 18 years and 3 adults. All participants had complete hearing loss at the start. While children showed greater improvement, that 2 of the 3 adults also responded well, suggesting the treatment may benefit a broader age range.
Honor has introduced a new high-power charger during its recent gaming-focused launch event. The accessory is called the Honor Win 360W GAN adapter and is priced at $75 in China. The charger was launched alongside Honor's new laptops, including the Honor Win H9. And Xiaomi has announced an update to its MIMO Voice AI platform with the launch of the MIMO V2.5 TTS series and MIMO V2.5 ASR. The company describes the new lineup as a full-length voice model system designed for the agent era, covering both speech output and speech input. The launch follows Xiaomi's MIMO V2 TTS model introduced in March, which focused on detailed control over tone, emotion, and speaking style.